The woman, Yoo-bin, writes back, "Same here. Where's your food?" The question feels direct, almost harsh, but Joon-woo understands the urgency behind it. Survival is the priority. He shows her his nearly empty pantry from his window. Yoo-bin nods, her face unreadable, but Joon-woo can sense she's in a similar situation. They begin a slow, laborious conversation through hastily written signs, the limitations of distance and danger forcing them to be brief. Despite the physical gap between them, there's a sense of connection growing. For the first time since the outbreak, Joon-woo feels a flicker of hope beyond mere survival. Over the next few days, Joon-woo and Yoo-bin develop a system of communication. Using hand signals, signs, and occasional knocks against the walls to get each other's attention, they begin exchanging updates about the situation outside. Yoo-bin is cautious, always alert, and observant. Joon-woo notices that she's more prepared than he is. Her apartment is fortified in ways he hadn't thought of. At one point, Yoo-bin signals to Joon-woo to look at her window, where she showcases her survival setup. She's resourceful, using ropes, homemade traps, and even a makeshift spear fashioned from a curtain rod to keep zombies at bay. Her windows are covered with heavy blankets to muffle sound, and she's created a water collection system on her balcony using rainwater. Joon-woo is in awe of her ingenuity. Despite the bleakness, there's a subtle sense of admiration that grows between them. Joon-woo, who had been on the verge of giving up, now finds inspiration in Yoo-bin's survival skills. She's a fighter, and her strength gives him a renewed sense of purpose. One day, as Joon-woo struggles with his rapidly depleting supplies, Yoo-bin signals that she has something for him. She holds up a bag of food, a few cans and a bottle of water. Joon-woo's stomach growls at the sight, but there's no way for her to pass it directly. They're separated by several stories of distance in the infected streets below. Yoo-bin gestures for him to wait and disappears from view. Joon-woo watches with growing anxiety, unsure what she's planning. Minutes later, she reappears on her balcony, lowering a rope tied to a small basket. The makeshift pulley system is rudimentary but clever, and Yoo-bin gestures for him to be ready. Joon-woo hurries to his balcony, and together they work in sync. She swings the basket across the gap between buildings, and Joon-woo catches it, pulling it up. Inside, he finds the supplies, a can of beans, some crackers, and a half-filled bottle of water. It's not much, but it's enough to sustain him for a few more days. In exchange, Joon-woo sends her a flashlight with a spare battery and a packet of instant noodles. It's a simple act, but the exchange of resources creates a deeper connection between them. They are no longer just two survivors, they're allies, working together to endure the apocalypse. As the days pass, Joon-woo and Yoo-bin's bond strengthens. They share more than just supplies now. Through their signs and gestures, they exchange stories about their lives before the outbreak. Joon-woo learns that Yoo-bin had been a student, living alone in the city when the virus hit. She had survived by using her resourcefulness and a deep-seated will to live. Yoo-bin, in turn, learns about Joon-woo's family and his struggles with isolation. The two begin relying on each other emotionally, offering silent comfort in a world that has been stripped of normalcy. Joon-woo starts looking forward to their daily signals, even if they're just small updates about what's happening outside. Yoo-bin's presence, though distant, gives him a sense of companionship he had longed for. There's an unspoken understanding between them. Despite the danger, they trust each other. They coordinate their movements, warning each other when zombies approach or when something seems off. The trust they've built becomes a lifeline, and soon, neither of them can imagine surviving without the other. But survival is far from easy. The streets outside are becoming more dangerous by the day. The infected are growing more aggressive, and they seem to be drawn to any movement or sound. Joon-woo and Yoo-bin know that they can't stay hidden forever. Their resources are dwindling, and at some point, they will need to find a way out. One evening, as they exchange their usual signals, something changes. A pack of zombies, unusually alert, begins converging near Yoo-bin's building. Joon-woo watches in horror as they scratch and claw at her door. He signals frantically, but Yoo-bin is already prepared. She uses her traps to distract them, setting off noise in another part of the building to lure them away. Her calm under pressure leaves Joon-woo both relieved and amazed. Still, the incident reminds them both that their situation is precarious. The zombies are relentless, and the safety of their apartments is not guaranteed forever. They begin discussing, through signals, the possibility of escape, finding a safer place, perhaps reuniting with others, or even reaching the military zone rumored to be providing shelter. The constant threat of death brings Joon-woo and Yoo-bin closer together. In the silent exchanges between them, there's an emotional weight that words can't fully convey. They're not just allies anymore, they've become each other's reason for pushing forward. The loneliness that once threatened to consume them is now shared, making it more bearable. At night, when the darkness settles in and the city is quiet, Joon-woo often finds himself staring out at Yoo-bin's apartment. She sometimes waves to him before retreating inside, and it's in those moments that Joon-woo realizes just how much she means to him. He's no longer surviving just for himself. The thought of losing her is unbearable, and it fuels his determination to protect her, even from afar. Yoo-bin, too, finds solace in their connection. Though she remains guarded and pragmatic, there's a softness in her gestures toward Joon-woo, a silent acknowledgement that she relies on him as much as he relies on her. They may not speak out loud, but their bond speaks volumes. As their supplies dwindle further, Joon-woo and Yoo-bin know that they can't stay in their apartments much longer. The constant presence of the infected, combined with their lack of food and water, forces them to confront the reality of their situation. They need to leave, and soon. Through their signs and gestures, they begin planning. Yoo-bin, ever the resourceful one, sketches out a route through the complex, showing Joon-woo how they might evade the zombies and reach a safer building. It's a risky plan, but it's their best shot. Together, they prepare mentally and physically for what's to come. Joon-woo fortifies his apartment one last time, gathering whatever tools and weapons he can find. Yoo-bin does the same, crafting more makeshift weapons and ensuring that her traps are ready to be deployed one last time. The plan is set. At dawn, they'll make their move. Together. It's been weeks since the outbreak began, and Joon-woo and Yoo-bin's situation has become more desperate. Their food and water supplies have nearly run out. The psychological toll of isolation, the constant threat of death, and the suffocating weight of being trapped in their apartments push them to their limits. The thought of staying any longer becomes unbearable. Both Joon-woo and Yoo-bin know that they cannot survive much longer in their respective apartments. The infected are growing in number, and they are becoming more aggressive as they roam the streets and buildings. The risk of running out of resources or being overwhelmed by the zombies is too high. It's time to make a move. Through a series of hand signals and written signs, Joon-woo and Yoo-bin communicate the same idea: they need to escape. They exchange worried looks across the distance between their buildings. The fear in their eyes is unmistakable, but so is their determination. This is a life or death decision. The world outside may be dangerous, but staying will eventually mean starvation or worse, being overrun by the zombies. Yoo-bin, the more pragmatic and resourceful of the two, immediately begins strategizing. She surveys the surroundings from her vantage point, observing the movements of the zombies and the layout of the streets and buildings. She has been keeping track of when the infected seem more active and when they're less likely to be grouped together. Joon-woo, though still plagued by fear, forces himself to focus. He watches as Yoo-bin draws out a rough map of their apartment buildings and the streets around them. She holds it up for Joon-woo to see through her window. The plan is simple in theory but dangerous in execution. They will need to find a path through the zombies and make it to a nearby building that they believe to be relatively safe, at least for the moment. The building in question is across the street, further down the block, and appears to be less infested. Yoo-bin's strategy involves using distractions to lure the zombies away, creating a temporary opening for them to escape. The key to survival will be stealth and timing. Every second will matter, and any mistake could cost them their lives. Joon-woo studies the plan and nods in agreement, even though his stomach churns with anxiety. He isn't sure if he's ready for this, but he knows there's no choice. Yoo-bin is counting on him, and they can't afford to wait any longer. Over the next few hours, both Joon-woo and Yoo-bin prepare for their escape. They gather whatever resources they have left, makeshift weapons, the last bits of food and water, and anything else that could aid them during their dangerous journey. Yoo-bin has crafted several small noise-making devices using items from her apartment. These will be crucial for drawing the zombies away from their path. Joon-woo, on the other hand, searches his apartment for anything that could help. He finds a sturdy kitchen knife, a flashlight, and some old clothes that he can use to cover his arms and legs, just in case he encounters the infected. His nerves are on edge, and his hands shake as he packs his small bag. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows over the city, Joon-woo looks out at the streets below. Zombies stagger aimlessly, some of them wandering close to the entrances of the buildings. Others remain still, seemingly dormant, but Joon-woo knows that the slightest noise or movement could set them off.